So it's really good.
Yeah. So actually, when I mean, like we thought like it's more of like promoting women into the community. So that's what this idea is like. So it will help more people to get inspiration from all the women speakers, and I hope to we increase more diversity in our community and inspire more people. Actually, yeah.
Definitely. I think it's a good initiative, definitely, and glad to be a part of it.
Thank you, Abhi. So you are from USA?
I am. I was born and raised around New York, and then
Okay.
I spent about 10 years in the Chicago area. Um, and now I'm in the London area, so a bit of a mix. But I spent some time in India as well. I spent about 6 months or a little bit more in Pune area. So I was there
Oh,
for
that's great.
a training thing. So I've enjoyed many a festival, and it's always fun. So there's an extra benefit of being able to support this. So
Yeah, that's really great actually. Yeah.
Yeah, hi Abby. I just like I'm Nancy. I've heard a lot about you. I just thought to come and say hi. I'm not sure like so I recently shifted to US and my whole time zone has really and I'm struggling. I don't even know I think I'm pretty late to the event or something. But yeah,
no,
I
you're
just
early.
Okay, no, no,
oh,
you're
I'm
early.
really struggling
No,
a lot
no.
of
Welcome.
So actually, it's
time.
under I think 6 more minutes to the actual time that we mentioned.
Yeah.
Like you are early. Like people, I
Yeah.
think people will start joining in by 8. Yeah.
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 Well,
But
where'd you move to in the US?
I am in New York State, so
Yeah.
I'm doing my master's from Cornell University. So I'm
Ah,
technically in
upstate.
Ithaca. It's
Yeah.
a nowhere place.
Yeah.
It's a very small
Yep.
town, like, sort of. Yeah. Oh, you've been
I looked at schools around there, so I don't think I was quite the academic to go to Cornell at the time, but I did look at Ithaca College, which is right next door. So yeah, it's a beautiful part of the country, but you are in for a winter. So I hope you've got
yeah.
yourself a down coat.
Yeah, I still have to buy. I mean, I can feel that it's getting started like cold now, so
Yep.
I need to buy stuff. Yeah, for
Make
sure.
sure my biggest piece of advice would be get one that has very like decent waterproofing. So it doesn't have to be waterproof, but good water resistance, and get one of the ones that goes down to like your knees. It makes a world of difference when you have one that covers like your
The-
thighs and your upper legs in comparison to one that stops at your waist. It's like it just feels like you're in a sleeping bag. It's so much better. So that's my advice if you're going to get winter coats for
Yeah,
Ithaca.
I'm gonna buy like next week. I'll go to NYC City. So
Yep.
I'm doing like I'm organizing a meetup there. So and it's by the way, it's so hard to organize meetup here.
Hmm.
So I'm
Yeah.
going there and I think I'll buy stuff from there.
Nice.
Yeah, because we don't have much shops in Ithaca. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Hey, hi, Malu.
Hey Malu.
Hello. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you like coming to KubeCon NA, Abby?
I
Oh,
am. I'm looking forward to it. I will be there. I get in a couple days early because I'll be at Platform Engineering Day as well, the day before at the Colo days. So, uh, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be good.
amazing. Yeah, I'll be there as well.
You
Maybe.
be somehow coming to Cubicon India?
I wish. So Atul is gonna be presenting on behalf of the working group. I'm super happy about that. He has just joined us as another co-lead of the working group. But I'm not able to make it over for the trip. It's very soon after before it's like right around KubeCon NA, right? It's like within
Yeah,
a
it's
like a
it's in
couple
Like
weeks.
December
December.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Makes it
I
makes it
won't be
hard.
able to join any, but I'll be there for Cubicon India. Yeah.
Good. That's good. I think it's good. KubeCon, I will say, does a great job at getting like remote access, right? They get all the videos up and all those things. So I think
Yeah.
it's awesome that, it's too bad we can't all make it to all of the events around the world, but it feels like at least
Yeah.
you get to go see all the videos and still learn from people. So that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Are you presenting in KubeCon India as well?
I hope so. No,
Still
I
waiting for the word back. Fair enough. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. Very nice.
Yeah,
I feel like
Yeah.
the hack is to be on the maintainer track. So I'm on the maintainer track for a panel in
yeah,
Salt Lake City.
that's nice. I mean, like I was not actually involved into kind of open source things yet, but I'm just trying to learn things from the community and trying to giving back. That's it.
Mhm. No, of
Yeah.
course. We all are. That's all. That's what
Yeah.
everyone's doing. I hope, it's just learning and
Yeah,
giving
but
back
I
all in a
know like
cycle.
many people in the community manage to do open source. Like I feel like I don't think I have time, to also manage that. So I was like just mom doing my work and
Yeah.
trying to do things like this. Yeah,
No, I never feel bad about that. It's everything comes in waves, right? When you have time, you spend it where you want to, and if that's on family and on work,
yeah,
like that's fair too. So don't ever, in my opinion, don't ever feel pressured by what other people do. You never
yeah,
know what their life circumstances are. You never know what's going on, and everyone's
yeah,
just doing the best they can with what they've got, time
yeah,
wise and interest wise and all that. So
yeah. Yeah, and so I think we'll see like people will start joining by 8.
fantastic. I know we've only done one of these so far. How do you all feel about like interactive versus like present? This is a talk. I can present straight through. I'm also happy to take questions throughout. Like
Yeah,
just
so
off.
I think like we do like this like have the presentation probably finish by 40 minutes, and then 15
Then
to
Q and A.
20
Yeah.
minutes we can interact with the people at the end actually. Yeah.
Mm.
Great.
I'm
No
just
Yeah.
quickly
problem.
sharing this link in the CNCF ambassador group as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think this looks cool now.
One.
I think we'll wait for a few more minutes for the people to start joining in. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Hi Santosh. Hi Rahul. Sorry.
Bless you.
Yeah. I think we can start in 1 or 2 minutes and then uh,
You let me know. Happy to.
I think we can get started now. Yeah.
Awesome. Happy. Yeah.
So just to give a quick introduction about Abhi, before we start with the introductions, so the reason why I'm just going through a small thing, so why we are doing it, all of this is yeah, it's more of like we wanted to empower and inspire and promote more women in doing the best things, what they can, what they believe, and what they dream for themselves, and so increasing the diversity in this community, and that's what I'm trying to do. So I mean, like, they can do everything, like they when they have passion, and probably sometimes they may need little push, and that's what we are trying to give to all the women out there, saying that you can do anything that you want. So yeah, the Navaratri celebrations is meant to be for it's actually it will tell 9 forms of feminine energy of goddess Durga, and it is more of like an woman empowerment and powerful celebration that is being made in India. So that's what we thought of doing this, and Ram has been helping me a lot with this organizing stuff and all. So finally, we are here, and today, hosting Abhi is kind of, I would say, it's a great pleasure of mine, because like I have heard a lot about her in the community, the work she do, and the way she manages everything, and she's a principal engineer as well, and she do a lot of things for platform engineering side. And we are very happy to host you, Abhi, and I mean, now it's all yours, and I'm very happy instead of just a host. Like, I'm very excited to listen to your talk. Actually, thank you so much.
Thank you for the very warm welcome, and I would definitely echo absolutely. Anybody can do anything, and getting women in tech to feel comfortable and confident to be speakers is something I'm passionate about. I've been a part of working groups in the past that have supported that. If there's anything I can do for anyone watching this at any time to help you reach out and become a speaker, and share your stories and your knowledge, I'd love to do that. Because and even just today during this hour, I'd love to make sure we take advantage of the Q&A at the end, and hear from you, because I get to learn as much as I get to share whenever I do presentations. So uh, it's my honor to be able to come and present. So thank you for having me. And
Thank you.
today, I know the focus is around platforms and platform engineering. And I wanted to take an opportunity to step away from what is maybe the more common topics you'll see at CNCF events around implementing platforms and what tech to use, and sort of the command line, you know, uh, junky kind of examples, and talk about why we're here. Because this is sort of a movement that transcends technology to a certain extent. And I think it's important to understand where it came from, where we're hoping to get to, and how you can get involved. So um, that is the scope of this talk. If you're hoping to see, code, I'm sorry, this isn't the talk that it will be. I have other talks where that is, and I'm more than happy to share videos and things like that if that's exciting and interesting to you. But today we're going to get involved with what are platforms and why I think there's something as a service, as described. So, as I said, my goal is to talk about the value of platforms, and to do that, we start with the business outcomes. Technology in all of its shapes and its forms are there to provide value to users, and often that's a business value. Sometimes it's more social good than business good, but in all cases, that's why we take the time to write technology. And there are 5 outcomes that were described in the platform engineering, or the platform white paper, that was released by the TAG App Delivery. So this is a technical advisory group within the CNCF. I am now a co-lead of the working group around platforms, which is a subset. And this is the first white paper that working group put out a couple of years ago. So the first thing is that we want to reduce the cognitive load on product teams. So what this is about accelerating product delivery, right? So be able to help your organization and your teams move faster by reducing the amount of things you have to think about and worry about within the scope of your work. So you can focus on the value you're adding without distraction. Platforms also provide a reliability and resilience support. They make sure to make configurations more likely to be correct, more likely to be consistent, and less likely to create errors in production. Platforms also accelerate platform development, so or app product development, by making sure that people are able to reuse knowledge from each other. So if someone within your organization learns how to do something really well or comes in as an expert in an area, you want to leverage that expertise. You want to share that knowledge rather than having everyone have to learn things new and over again. So again, that faster delivery through sharing. The fourth is again a look at a reduction in risk, and this is through regulatory requirements. So when you have to do things for credit card requirements or personal information requirements, medical requirements, anything along those lines, you're able to actually create that governance layer within your organization in a consistent way and make it easy for people to have governance without having pain from governance. And the final one that's called out is about efficiency of your organization. So this is where we start talking about cost efficiency, and we start talking about how you can manage the upgrades and changes of things easier when they're managed by a platform. So these are some kind of examples around the impacts that platforms can have on an organization. And you can see that they're focused around that moving faster, moving more efficiently, and making sure to reduce risk. And those are sort of the key deliverables that every business, every technology department is looking to think about when they're making their decisions and investing in things. What does that actually mean for platforms? It means that often they deliver that application developers depend on a regular basis. So things like test environments, IDE configurations and support, deployment configurations and support, observability. How do you get data that you can then also support how people review that data and get value, and auditing when it comes to governance and things like that. These are just some examples, but I know that not everyone on the call is going to have a lot of experience in platform engineering yet. And I want to make sure to ground this story in where you might see this in your organization, right? Is what kind of tools can you expect a platform to maybe support you with? So, when I talk about these things, a lot of them might feel really obvious to you. I even said, of course, obviously, an organization cares about moving faster or more efficiently or with less risk. These aren't new concepts, right? So, why are platforms and platform engineering new concepts if the things they're driving and the outcomes that they're enabling aren't new? What is it about them that's doing something differently from before, right? To get there, we have to first of all accept that platforms and platform engineering is a little bit of a buzzword today. So let's call out that elephant in the room. Some people are frustrated by that. That's okay. Buzzwords exist. So does pop music for a reason. It's popular. And to get past the fact that it is a buzzword today, we have to think about the other buzzwords that we're building on top of, and we have to kind of squash those bees in the corner there. So, in this talk today, I'm going to be focusing on the value of platforms and platform engineering, but I'm going to get started by talking about where we came from. So, I'm going to have a quick look at where DevOps came about in theory and where it really landed in practice. We've had DevOps now for well over 10 years. DevOps Days, like the conference, are having their 10-year anniversaries around the world over the last couple of years. And so we have a lot of information about what we were hoping to achieve with DevOps and where we are really. And this is going to be a good time to do a review of that. In addition, we're going to talk about where we are with platform engineering aspirations and theory today and where we hope to get to, right? So we're at the early stages of that sort of movement right now where we're waiting to collect information on where we actually get to. But what are we hoping for? What are our aspirations? Then I'm going to look at the idea of providing services. So providing something as a service, which is, in the title of the talk, what is required to do that and why is it super hard to do? And why is it even harder to do when you're internal to an organization? Everyone likes to say it's so easy to do things in your organization. All of your users are your peers. You can just walk over and talk to them. That does not make it easier. It just gives you a different forum to have the conversation. And then the last thing I want to do is while this isn't going to be a technology talk, we're not going to have code, we're not going to look into, implementations. I do want to look at some patterns that I think you can look into. And I'm going to mention some tools and some things that can make this a little bit more concrete if you yourself are involved in building a platform and how you can get started. So that's our run list here. Hopefully that lines up with what you were hoping to hear about, and definitely happy to. I've got the chat sort of in the corner over here, so if you have any questions, I'll see if I can sneak in answers as I go, and we'll definitely get to time with them at the end, if not throughout. So please do get involved and share some questions as you go. So to get past the buzzwords of platform engineering, I said we had to get to the buzzword of DevOps. To get past the buzzword of DevOps, we have to go back to the original buzzword, which is Agile. Agile started, I don't know, 20-ish years ago, and it was all focused around bringing people together. Agile was looking at an organization and realizing that the people who were defining the software outcomes that they wanted to achieve, defining what software should look like, were really isolated from the people actually implementing the software. And so we were getting these really big feedback loops from what someone thought something should look like to what it actually was in practice. And Agile was there to try and break down those silos, to try and bring people together and share in the ideation and creation of software. DevOps was how we extended that. So basically, we had a whole bunch of people sitting in the IT tech department working on the sort of lower level technology, so the infrastructure and the servers and things like that. And they were looking at this agile movement and going, hey, that's pretty good. I like that. That whole talking to each other thing seems effective. We should do that in technology too. The silos don't only exist between departments, they even exist within a department between roles. So let's think about how the operational folks, the people who are running things in production, can align with the development folks, the people who are building things. And slowly we realized that actually there were silos everywhere. I feel like Buzz Lightyear, everywhere. You'll see them everywhere. And we started creating those sort of almost memes of all of the dev something ops combos. We had silos that were within the department. So similar to DevOps, you might have dev QA ops or dev data ops or something else in tech. You also may have more silos across departments. So you might have dev FinOps and dev marketing ops and things. And you may even piece all of those together into a silly statement of like dev sec biz product testing ops or something, right? I'm sure there's something like that out there because what we're seeing is all the things coming together. And DevSecOps is probably one of the most popular examples. So yes, absolutely. And this is because silos create friction. They create difficulty in communication, and it creates these feedback loops that require change over time. And so I will quote one of the grandfathers of the DevOps movement, Patrick Chaboy. I was lucky enough to actually be presenting a couple of these slides on at an event that he was at, and he gave me his blessing to share this and that I was sharing it in good context. So I appreciate that. And he has this LinkedIn post from a couple of years ago where he said that his definition of DevOps is everything to overcome the friction created by silos. Right? Every time that we talk about dev something ops or DevOps in general, it's overcoming the silos. And he said that this was a throwaway comment at one point, and it actually has become one of his most quoted things, which is always funny. You think you work really hard on something that's going to be quoted, and it's actually a throwaway comment that everyone talks about, right? So, but yes, the big thing about DevOps is overcoming silos and friction from those silos. Now, that comes out in one of the kind of common, not definitions, but descriptions maybe of DevOps, which is that it reduces the friction between silos. It does so with a few different types of activities. So through automation, through collaboration, fast feedback, and iterative improvement. These are some activities and actions that organizations take to reduce that friction. One way you could reduce friction is just to remove silos. So you've knocked down those silos, and now all of a sudden there isn't any friction because everyone can talk to each other. That is the way that most people, I think about DevOps, right? They think about the full stack engineer, the full stack team. This is a term that became popular over the last 10 years where what you're saying is you're going to take all of the knowledge that you need to produce software and deliver it and support it in production, and you're going to put it around one table. That table may have individuals who have different specialties and different skills, but it's making sure that there's no silos between them. They're all together working towards the same end. And you may even have all that knowledge being expected to be within a single person. That's going to increase your collaboration. It's going to get faster feedback loops, and you're going to be iterating faster because everyone's around the same table. But I, for one, don't think that that kind of glorious description and state and that ideal state is actually the full story. I've had different experiences. I've heard about my colleagues and my friends and people around the industry with different experiences, and I wanted to try and capture that. And so I'm going to tell a bit of a story that actually isn't about me and my DevOps journey per se, but is about my explaining this concept to someone who's outside of our domain, outside of our industry. And it was to my partner. And I often tell my partner stories like this as I'm preparing conference talks or thinking about problems because he's not technical, like he's not a software engineer, but he is technical in that he does Wi-Fi installations, and he understands a lot of our world. And so he's a good kind of litmus test, a good test for whether or not I'm making sense to someone who might be newer to the subject than I am. And so let's see if this story resonates with you. I was trying to talk to him about something he knows well, which is cooking. He's a great chef. And I said to him, I said, imagine that you and I wanted to cook something new. And we didn't have everything we needed to do so. We needed a few extra things. So, for example, we might be missing an ingredient. We might be missing a spice, or we might be missing a piece of veg. And we would have the opportunity to put in a request and get that. Wait for that to come. It's like I could delivery app that to myself. That'd be fine. I can order anything I need, right? So maybe I'm cooking a whole new cuisine type and I need a whole new pan, right? I need a wok because I'm trying Chinese food for the first time, or I need something else, that like a grill or something else that I might need. I can ask and wait for those things as well. No limitations about what I can ask for. I can ask. As I say, we can request anything. But the key here is that there's no promises about what we're going to get back. The thing is, nobody wants to do something wrong, but it could come back wrong. And he just looked at me and thought I was crazy. And I said, and he sort of said, get on with the story. He's like, I know how this works. Things get better in these stories. So let's go. And I said, okay, let's see. Yeah, you're right. You don't have to worry. Things are going to get better, right? DevOps is here to help. He's like, yep, see, I know DevOps. I know DevOps is fantastic. Okay, you've talked about this before. It's here to help. And I say, you don't have to worry about asking for anything anymore and waiting. You don't have to worry that someone's going to get you the wrong thing instead of that you asked for. So getting you, flat parsley instead of curly parsley or something. You get to do everything yourself. And he's like, great. Thank you. This is fantastic. I'll get what I need when I need, be able to do everything myself. I said, hold on for a second, because we know in life nothing comes for free. So there are some trade offs to this world. While we don't need to ask for anything, we also can't. We're on our own. Okay. This is, as I say, good and bad. Now, unfortunately, when we need that ingredient, we need to get planting. So if we need like a new spice or a new herb or a new vegetable, I, for one, have like the worst brown thumb I've ever met. And I finally got myself a garden, got very excited, and have failed miserably at growing things. So we might be in for some trouble if we need to grow our own plantings for our new foods. As I said before, in the old world, we could ask for anything. So what would happen if we needed, for example, a new knife? My partner loves that TV show Forged in Fire, and he's always wanted to have a reason to like bang on some metal. So I was like, there's your chance. If you need a new knife, you can build it yourself. Get a forge, fire up the metal, hit on it, sharpen it, finish it, get a handle for it. Now you've got your knife and you're ready to go. That's this new world. And his response is the reason why this story is in this talk. He just sighed. He said, "That's stupid." And I thought, I haven't heard a more succinct way of saying why there's so many challenges and so many issues with pure DevOps from top to bottom of something. It is just frustrating and challenging when what you want to do is cook a new meal and you're off firing up a forge or getting your hands dirty to try and plant something. And the reality is that not every person and not every team has the skills or interest to deliver every capability. And that's okay. There are, though, those of you in the room and those of you around the industry that love it. They love being able to get into every little nitty gritty. They love being able to build everything from top to bottom. And that's a really great role as well for people. I, for one, have a very broad skill set, and I like that kind of thing. But I, for one, work at a startup. And there are lots of small organizations that benefit from those broad skill sets and roles within bigger organizations that benefit. The reality is that most organizations, especially those at scale, do not benefit from having every team recreate the wheel, build their things from top to bottom completely for themselves from scratch, because they have to worry about security flaws over and over and over again across their teams. They have to worry about the cost of delivery of research and development on those new ideas across each and every team. It's not a scalable option. So, as an individual, you may or may not like it. And as an organization, it's something you really have to work against for the cost efficiency and security. What most people feel when I talk to people around the industry is there is a certain point at which they just feel stressed. Some get stressed on a outside of a very narrow skill set, and some manage a much wider interest area before they get stressed. But everyone hits this moment where that autonomy to do anything you want but do it yourself is debilitating in ways, because that responsibility now also falls on your shoulders. You have to worry about, are you PCI compliant for the credit cards you're transacting? Do you even need to be PCI compliant? Those are all the types of things you need to ask yourself and worry about, and it can become really challenging for people. This is particularly true when you're at scale. And so, what I just want to call out is that while I am highlighting some of the challenges of DevOps at scale when there's huge responsibility on a person or on a team to understand the whole stack of technology, it doesn't mean that DevOps isn't in effective and enjoyable in certain circumstances. I, for one, extremely enjoy working in a DevOps environment and find it really productive. But what we need to do is we need to overcome the challenges and the risks of both cost and security concerns when working in a large end-to-end environment. And that is where I think platform engineering skills come in. I believe that platform engineering can bring DevOps principles to scale. We can overcome those risks of security and cost efficiency by bringing in platforms at the right level to enable teams to be focusing on the DevOps skills within their own kind of forum. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that there's going to be application teams who are building and monitoring, and that they're on call for the applications that they're delivering, that they're developing. That is a DevOps cycle, that they have that full feedback loop, they have full ownership, they have full responsibility for their own domain, for the applications. Those application teams will depend on platform engineering teams, and those platform teams will build, deploy, monitor, and be on call for their platform components. They too will have complete ownership of the platform components, just like the application teams have complete ownership of their components. They'll be able to get fast feedback from their users. They'll be responsible for any issues their users run into, and there is a dependency there. These are DevOps principles, but within a scope of ownership that you feel like you can actually deliver on. And that is the really big difference between a full stack being, top to bottom, including servers and all the way up, and a full stack being within a domain that you have ownership over. So when we talk about DevOps, about talking about reduction and friction between silos, using these techniques of automation, collaboration, fast feedback, the big thing here that is the issue with the silo is how do you do collaboration if there is no silo, or if there is a silo. So I'm advocating that platforms are bringing back a little bit of a divide between, the people that are running internal services and the people who are writing applications on top of those services. Well, now we're bringing back this need for collaboration. How do you square that circle? How do you manage that issue, right? That's where I bring in the concepts behind Team Topologies. So, Team Topologies is a book that was released in 2019, but it's had research and blog posts and all sorts of websites up for many years before that. This is a piece of work that's been in motion for many years. And what they did fantastically in this book is they brought together these ideas that aren't new, aren't unique, brand new ideas from them, but they are common across the industry. And we now have a shared language to look at them. And one of the things they put a shared language around was that idea of collaboration, in specific as an interaction mode. So Team Topologies identifies 3 types of interaction modes between teams at an organization. The first is collaboration. It's the one that's really talked about in that DevOps world, and I'll talk a bit more about in a second. The second is X as a service, which is the other one we're going to dive into today in a little bit more depth. And the third is facilitation, or facilitating, which actually sits a little bit between the two, and we'll just briefly touch on that. We're not going to talk too much about that today. So each of these interaction modes have their pros and cons, their benefits and their drawbacks. With collaboration, it is optimized for empathy and exploration. That is its positive take. You are able to really get in the room, get in the heads of the people around you to understand what their challenges are, what they need, what they're thinking. And it really builds this ability to dive deep into problems and understand them. The drawback is that collaboration takes human to human interaction and in high quantities. It can only scale at the rate that humans can scale their communication and can scale their time together. So it's often a hard thing to scale well. That's why they talk about like 2 pizza team sizes and things like that. It's because this is really hard to scale. On the other end of the spectrum, we have this X as a service. Now this does all the things collaboration does poorly as its strength. So X as a service is optimized for scale and autonomy. X as a service is the description of having essentially an API that people can make requests to that is well defined, well understood, and accessible to people. So it means that there should be no humans in the loop on this side of things. Now, where are the challenges with this is that you need to make sure you're providing value to the other side. You need to make sure you understand what service people are asking for. I just noticed there was a quick question about the pizza reference I made, and I apologize. I try not to use too many unknown things, so thank you for asking, and please keep asking if I use things you're not familiar with. The 2 pizza team reference comes from, I believe it was Amazon a few years ago, talked about how they like to keep teams small enough that they could feed that team with 2 pizzas. So that way it kind of just gave a rule of thumb about how many people could be on a team before they felt like it became less productive or less optimized. And so you'll see it as well with things like the how many people, or like the communication channels. You can find diagrams online of like 2 people is 1 line, 3 people is like 3 lines, 4 people, and so on, and how it becomes that much more complex every one person that you add. And yes, Ivan, that does get talked about in Scrum team sizes, though it's not specifically about Scrum. It's really just human interaction models at that stage, but it definitely gets discussed in Scrum as well. Great. So we've talked about now that there's these 3 interaction models that we have. They each have their pros and their cons, and they should be used in different circumstances. So it's not a one size fits all. The reason why they all exist, though, is not because you can say, well, this team should be operating with collaboration and this team should be operating with X as a service and this team facilitating. It's actually because there is an evolution that great products go on and great relationships go on that evolve throughout this. And so, and this is usually per sort of feature, per sort of support system. So if we start on the left here, where we have a really high overlap, that green area is very high overlap. That is indicating collaboration. Humans are sitting down together to problem solve and solutionize what a good idea looks like. It is often not repeatable. It is often not scalable, but what it's doing is figuring out the problem space and coming up with the right solution for that team. To go from that to something that will support an organization with hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people, you have to get past that scale. And that's where you introduce facilitating. And you see here the green starts to separate a little bit. With facilitating, you're trying to test that solution across more than one interaction model. You're trying to test that by going to more than one team, see and stress test that solution and see until you can make something that's a little bit more generalized and a little bit easier to share at scale. This can often be facilitated by things like communities of practice and other activities that enable people to present to larger groups, like we're doing here. All the way to the right, you can see that we can establish an X as a service mentality here. But again, this is about that chain of reactions, because if we don't understand our problem and we don't test that across a number of users, we can never get to the point of scaling that solution for hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of users. It's all about that evolution. And again, this is not that a team works in one way and evolves to the next. It's that each problem space that you're exploring would go through this chain of solutions. So, platform engineering enables DevOps principles at scale, is my thesis. And I'm suggesting that because I believe that platform engineering is transitioning understood offerings from collaboration mode to services. Platform engineering is taking things that teams that are operating with a large DevOps stack early days, what they're doing, and they're finding patterns across an organization and pulling those things into a shared platform, a shared use case. They're taking problems and solutions that have been proven to be effective and hopefully shared across multiple teams and organization and turning them into services. That is the skill around platform engineering that's really being exercised. Platforms are about providing something as a service. Platform engineering is about building those services with the right level of collaboration with your users. So to get into a little bit more of the specific or formal definition, I should say, of platforms, I'm going to look back at that platform white paper that the working group had published. And this is a little bit of a tongue twister, so I'm going to pull out a couple of key phrases here. So the platforms here are a collection of capabilities which are cross-cutting layer across the organization that are typical capabilities and services for that organization and support a broad set of applications and use cases. Said another way, platforms are the things that are unique to your organization. So you have to create them both bespoke and special for your org, but are common within your organization across multiple teams. That's what platforms are trying to build. So I hear you. You've been now listening to me drone on for like 30 minutes already, and you're like, but Abby, isn't this optimizing internal tech or ops services within an organization? And I have to say, I really do appreciate the question, and I appreciate you withholding the word just, even though I could sense there was a feeling of that this is maybe just doing something we've always done, because I get that a lot. That's okay. And I hear you, because there are times when we just rename something, right? And nothing actually changes about how we work or what we get from it. And we're seeing a lot of hype around platform engineering. We're seeing it kill things. We're seeing it be the future. We're seeing all sorts of stuff around platform engineering. And this is just a very small subsection. And I will get on board with you, because rebranding of words that we think we already understand or concepts we think we already understand is extremely confusing. It really is. We've been here before. We've had DevOps come along and Agile, and people are like, wait a second, isn't this like just talking to each other? Wait a second, isn't this like just building our software? Maybe one of the most frequent ones, more recent ones, is the rebranding of monitoring and observability. So you should check out the observability day that is going to be a part of this section of talks, because learning about how observability differs from monitoring is another challenging quote unquote rebranding, because it can be really confusing to decipher that. So in order to get past that confusion, we have to dig into the details, because it's really important to tease out the differences, because maybe it isn't a full rewrite of history. Maybe it isn't a completely new idea, but there is a difference here that we have the potential to get a lot of benefit from. So I'm going to come back to that Exodus idea. If I say that platforms are about delivering services and that services are optimized for scale and autonomy, we kind of can all nod and go, yeah, that sounds about right. Like, look at, for example, AWS and EC2 instances. Like, if they had to talk to every human about what they needed from a server, we'd be no better off than before the cloud existed. Instead, we have this service that we can go and we can configure and we can use to get what we need. Problem is this is hard work. It's very easy to say that we should do that because it's obviously going to make things easier and more scalable, but it is hard work. And that's because service expectations are growing. We're getting as humans, we're expecting things to be handed to us in a lot better ways now. We're expecting, our applications on our phones to do things for us. We're expecting, things to be fully available to us on the internet. Things are just basically invisible if they are not available to us on our phones and on our computers anymore. And when we come to work as application developers, that expectation doesn't go away. You come to work and you're expecting that kind of full service experience you have from your online video streaming service or from your food delivery service. That kind of service is what you expect at work as well. It's hard to turn that part of your brain off. So let's dig into the components about what makes those successful, and therefore what our application developers are expecting of the internal platforms. The first is that they expect things to be discoverable. How many times, like, I've definitely walked around my neighborhood and seen a new restaurant in town and been like, huh, where'd that come from? Because if it's not on my delivery food service, I like don't even realize it's there half the time, right? I'm so busy, I'm just like ordering my food in, and then all of a sudden I'm finding these restaurants that aren't on that service. I want things to be easy and discoverable and available to me easily. In addition, I'm expecting things to be self-service. With self-service, I don't want to have to ask someone how to do something. I want to be able to go and pick my things and have it be easy to do that, be clear and obvious that I know how to do something, which is one piece that comes close together with the next piece, which is on demand. So something that is self-service is something I understand that I can do by myself. Something that is on demand is something that I get immediately, or is without delay, I should say. Some things are immediate, some things are just fast. An example of this is when I go online to make a booking for a restaurant, and the option is to call them. That's self-service because I know how to pick up the phone and call them. It's a very easy to do thing, but it's not on demand. I have to make sure that the shop is open. I have to make sure that they aren't too busy to pick up the phone. It might take me 2 or 3 times of calling them to get through and actually book that. It is not on demand. I have to perpetually be checking in and doing that. So those combine to make something really accessible for someone. And the final piece I'll call out is that it's managed. I don't have to think about whether or not my video streaming service is going to continue to run, is going to continue to get updates of new episodes, is going to continue to be secure enough for me to pay for it with my credit card. All of those things are managed for me and I don't have to think about it. They didn't just hand me, like Netflix or something in a box and say, now this is your business. You have to make sure it stays running. Good luck, right? It was managed for me. So those 4 things is what makes a service feel really great. Because in other words, services are products. They're internal products, but they are products. So let's focus on how we can do this. And I see the time. I'm going to try and finish up with about 10 minutes to go rather than 20. I apologize.
No
Um,
worries, Abhi.
but let's focus on how we do this. So with X as a service, we've seen this happen at level layers throughout the industry for years and years. Hardware as a service started in sort of your renting of a data center, but we've seen it rise to the level of consumers with things like cell phone leases and rentals, where if you drop you can like drop your phone battery off and get a new one rather than wait for it to charge, things like that are hardware as a service. Infrastructure as a service is where we've come to with cloud computing and all of that, and it's been a huge impact. I can't have a talk about platforms without talking about platforms as a service. So you'll hear about Heroku or Cloud Foundry or Vercel or Fly. These are things which allow us to deliver software services into environments on demand with as a service. And of course, software as a service is the most popular, the most well used. And this is a SaaS product. And I would hearken a guess that everyone on this call has used software as a service probably already today, whether it be your email client, your calendar client, anything like that. Those are all software as a service where you get to them via a website. And these have made our lives easier and easier and easier over the years. And so I'm going to dig into platform as a service in particular because today's talk is about platforms. With platforms as a service, they came about, they've existed for eons, but they really gained in popularity, I'd say, about 12 to 15 years ago. But I think it was about 12 years ago that Heroku really broke through as like the place to get started to run your application. And that really changed the industry to this new term of platform as a service. And they showed us what was possible, which is amazing. They showed us that it was possible to have an easy to use option for delivering applications into an environment. They showed us that you could reduce the maintenance risk because they would manage all of the upgrades for you, and they would allow you to auto scale your environment, which gave you the flexibility to start small and grow bigger, to introduce a queuing system when you needed it later rather than design one right from the start. And it solved the problem. It solved the problem of how to create more applications, more websites in an era where we were just getting started to realize what was possible with technology. It was like popularizing it. And this was an incredible feat for first generation of platforms. They were extremely popular and they continue to be extremely effective. If you're doing a little bootstrap personal project, you're going to a platform as a service like a Heroku, like a Vercel to do that for you. And you should. So when we think about the things I was just talking about, where it's like ability to deliver and deploy an application, we have to think about how we want to pay for these concepts, how we want to pay for the cost of deploying an application in an easy, flexible, scalable way. And that is the build versus buy debate. It always has been. Do you spend your money on human power or do you spend your money on a product? The rule of thumb is that you should buy anything that's non-differentiating. Anything that your competitors are doing exactly the same as you should be buying because you aren't going to win the race against them by doing it yourself. It's just a table stakes requirement. And that falls into a lot of things to do with platforms. Test environments, observability, support, reliability, built-in security. All these things are not unique to your business. They're requirements of your business. They're important for your business. I don't mean to diminish them, but they are not unique. Every organization has fairly similar needs in this case. So we should be able to use those platforms as a service for all those common needs, right? And if so, why do we keep being told that Heroku is dying? Why do we have to ask the question of if it's special, why is it dying? This is from 2022, this article telling us that Heroku's dying. I promise you, Heroku is not dead. They would be more than happy to take your money, and it continues to be a fantastic product. So go check it out if you need one. But it is a question that's been asked. It was actually asked a few years before this in 2017 by the one and only Kelsey Hightower. He said, why is it that everyone wants a PaaS? They just want to build it themselves. Why? And a few years later, 2021, he said so. He's like, it has been 4 years. Why has the industry not changed? And there's a piece of it here that I think is engineers like to build things. But I think there's a piece of it here that Jason E was touching on, which is that everyone needs a little bit of a unique Heroku. They love the concept of Heroku. They get the benefits of Heroku. They want that flexibility, that scalability, that maintainability. But there are these unique bits that they need in their organization that they don't get from there. What they're saying is that they can't use another company's processes. They want to buy because it's non-differentiating aspects, but there are these certain unique aspects to their process that they need to build on top of those commodity aspects. And that is where I would say right here, right now, if you can use another company's process, you should. If you can buy your platform, please do. It will be a lot cheaper than paying for engineers to build it for you. But not everyone can. So you might find yourself being able to buy large portions of your platform, large aspects of your platform, but you actually want to have collaboration on that mile, that final bit around how do people work together? How does your business process live on top of these platforms? And that is going to be the second generation platform, because the first generation platform jumped through those team topologies evolutions from collaboration to facilitation to X as a service, straight to X as a service. I bet you no one from these PaaS companies has come to your organization and asked how you like to work, right? They just handed you that service and it either works or it doesn't work. So we come into why you should build. The things you need to build are the things that are your processes, experience, business, and value that are unique and above and beyond what other people do. Now, these, as I said, could be built on top of a lot of other purchased aspects. So do not go building from absolute bare minimums if you can help it. Buy aspects of it and build on top. So, excuse me. So when you're not willing to outsource your DevX and process, you need to build that platform in the way that your organization requires. So that second generation platform is about bringing the aspects of the first generation, the flexibility, the easy to use, customer problem solution, all of those, to individual services within your organization that have those the bits of your organization built in. What's challenging here is it's like going back to the days of microservices in software engineering. How do you do that while still providing a user-friendly and unified experience? Think about micro front ends and microservices and all these things of the many different pieces of application all coming together into a user experience. How do you manage that in a unified way? We're just faced with that challenge in platforms today, which we've been facing in softwares for many years. So we need to give our platform engineers a better developer experience when managing this, because we know that without great DevX, it's really hard to make great user experience. You start to bleed through and show the challenges you're facing as a developer into those user experiences if you're not given the tools that you need. But what's exciting is the industry is moving this way, creating frameworks and tools and support systems for platform engineers to build the thin bespoke layer of business value on top of the many purchased aspects of platform that you can build. We've got portal UI frameworks like Backstage, CLI frameworks like Cobra, platform API frameworks like Cradix, which is what I work on, and infrastructure as code frameworks like Crossplane. These are coming together all together to build an experience where the developer experience of building platforms is improved. It's become testable, it's become maintainable. And now people can actually worry about building in their business needs on top of what they can purchase. So my wrap up is just to say that when you go back to the basics of DevOps, it's about reducing friction. Don't just focus on removing silos. Think about what the friction is and if you can solve it in another way, maybe providing a very clear service or API. Platform engineering is an implementation that allows us to provide DevOps at scale. It is not instead of DevOps. It actually utilizes DevOps when it's done at its best. Successful products need to differentiate only where valuable. That's where they should be spending their time and their energy. So by having frameworks and dependencies that take off a lot of the heavy lifting of the framework, the baseline things, it allows you to differentiate where the interesting things live. And finally, this is software. Don't write it if you don't have to. Software is expensive. Every line of code is out to get you over time and takes maintenance time. But when you have to write software for your platform or for your application or for anything, make sure you use these DevOps principles to create a maintainable and extensible environment. And that's true as much for platforms as it is for software. And with that, I hope that we've squashed a few of the buzzwords, at least given some context on them so that you can make your own decisions about how you apply them. And I really appreciate your time. So a few minutes for questions at least. I do apologize I ran a bit long.
No, I mean, it was really a great session, Abhi, actually. It will help a lot to understand what is platform engineering, and I'm very happy to hear everything that you said, actually. Yeah. Everyone, like, you can ask questions to Abhi, and I think few of the questions Abhi already answered. So if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. So, yeah.
Yeah, and just know, I know there's not a ton of time. I'd love to answer anything live right now, but you can always, all my socials are on there. You can always reach out to me, and I'm very happy to answer questions asynchronously as well. So if something pops in your brain later, I'm very happy for that too.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you can unmute yourself if you want to ask any questions.
Hi, Abby. I loved the talk. It was really good. I learned quite a bit about how people like how teams get separated, and those are some problems I deal with in my own org. So I it kind of helped me like see things from a clearer perspective. So obviously, platforms mean a lot of different things to different people. What like some of those terms can be a bit I guess overloaded. So what's your I think you talked about it a little bit, but in particular, what sort of terms do you find like are overused, or what of those terms would you target specifically?
That is a great question. I was a consultant for many years. I'm still recovering. I sometimes still act like a consultant. And one of my favorite techniques was to try and have a conversation without any of the words, because what I cared about was alignment on what we were talking about, not like, and often those words, they do come with a lot of baggage. So you're asking what words are maybe have the most baggage right now in this space. So
Yes.
I think developer experience has a ton of baggage right now. So the two things I'd call out in particular to dive into with developer experience, if you're having these conversations, is one, who, like, what you want to achieve through developer experience. Is it developer retention? So is it actually experience of like happiness, or is it something else? And often in organizations, developer experience is often more around compliance and things like that. And being honest about the intentions. I'm not saying what's right or wrong, just to be clear, but being honest about the intentions of if it's retention happiness style or if it's compliance alignment style will help make sure that you're coming up with the right solutions. So that'd be one thing. The second thing I think you want to dive into if someone's using the term DevX is who they mean by developers. I, for one, come from like the operational infrastructure side of things, and I hate that application web app developers seem to have co-opted all experiences when it comes to developers. Like, what? So if you say DevX right now, you're assuming someone is like a Java dev, a JavaScript dev, like a web app dev in some sort of kind of maybe very common way. But there are developers all around your organization. There are those app devs, they are very much a part of things, but even they can be split between front end and back end. And there's also data engineers, there's also infrastructure engineers, there's also all sorts of things. And so making sure you know, again, what are you trying to achieve and who are you targeting is a big piece of this, not just generic DevX. So that's one. And then the second would be platform. So there's a lot of debate around, is there one platform at an organization or not? And there's going to be a lot of most organizations can't live with only a single platform. Like, they have a lot of other things going on. And some organizations that I work with actually intentionally don't have a single platform because they see that as a risk. They are such a big organization with so much compliance requirement that by having a single platform, if something would go wrong, that would be actually like a finable offense, that they had put too many eggs in one basket. So it's not about the platform. It's about platform engineering of like the experience that you need to have, and figuring out where you enable people to work across the platforms in your organization, and that kind of thing. So maybe those would be two I'd highlight. Is there one that, Malu, that you find to be particularly frustrating these days, or?
No, not exactly. I was just looking to add some context to the DevX statement. So I'm based in Canada, and here developer means a very different thing than it did when I worked back in the States. So that adds another layer of complexity.
Yep.
Like the engineer, software engineer is a protected term, so they don't.
Yep.
So they kind of confuse like job titles quite a bit here.
Yep.
And when I moved from the States to Canada, I found that job titles are just very not similar. And when you're in tech, they mean something, and when you're not, they mean something else. So it can get a little messy. So
100%. I also am an immigrant. I moved from the States to the UK, and I've had very similar experiences. So I think it's a really good point to bring up. Thank you for sharing it. Yeah,
thank you for
definitely.
answering that. I think that was very helpful.
Good. Glad to help.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Like, I think feel free to reach out to Abhi, like, if you have any other questions as well. And yeah, we are very much happy to, host you today, Abhi. And so we request everyone to join our upcoming, days of events every day at 8 p.m. IST, and celebrate Navaratri and women power with us. Yeah,
Thank you for
thank you
having
all.
me.
Yeah.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Bye. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You as well.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hi, Bhavani. Hello.
Yeah,
Hi,
I
Bhavani.
think we can stop.